Like jazz hands. Huh?
Yeah.
Yes, and Judy, if you're monitoring the chat and somebody asks a question that's of general interest, just go ahead and go, Frank, hold on, Frank, stop. Charles wants to know. If it's an individual question, we can do those at the Q&A. But if it's a question of general interest, I don't mind stopping. I do stand-up comedy, which I've done since the day after Christmas, 1985. I do something called comedy and conversation. Bring the lights halfway up in the house and tell people, like, you got a question? Raise your hand. If I'm talking too fast, scream out, you're talking too fast. And bring down the fourth wall, make it interactive. And so, yeah, so if you have a question of general interest, you don't feel bad about interrupting. And I believe, Judy, I'm doing 40 minutes. Is that correct? Yep. Okay. I started my stopwatch on my. I am a comedian. I was born that way. People say, were you born funny? Yes, an amusing thing happened on the way down the birth canal. Whole family's funny. Told my first joke in 4th grade. The entire class laughed. The teacher was hysterical. I thought, I'm going to be a stand-up comedian. 12th grade, we had a talent show. I'd never done stand-up. It's 1975, spring of 75. I did stand-up. I won. Told my mom, I'm going to be a stand-up comedian. She said, son, you going to college first. I don't care what you do when you get done. You can be a goat herder for all I care, but you're going to be a goat herder with a college degree. So I went to University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. Degree in political science, go Eagles, and a degree in labor management relations, which neither of which I've used a day since, but made my mama happy. Moved to San Diego, went to work for an insurance company, and there's a comedy store in San Diego, a sort of a satellite version of the one that's on Sunset in LA, and went to 2 open mic nights to see what the competition was like. They were awful. I thought to myself, I'm that funny walking around. So I went up on the 3rd night and I got laughs. I thought to myself, I'm home. I'm going to do this for a living. I have no idea how. A year later, my lovely girlfriend then, I asked her, look, I'm going on the road to be a professional stand-up comedian. Do you want to come along? Expecting her to say no. She said yes. So we gave up our apartment, our jobs, put everything in storage. We couldn't fit into my teeny tiny Dodge Colt. And she and I were on the road for 2,629 nights in a row, nonstop, 7 years of change. Worked with Dennis Miller and Ramsey and Evelyn and Jeff Foxworthy and Bud White, Adam Sandler, and Kevin James. Pretty much anybody who was, just a comic back then. Now, of course, many of those folks are famous. I ended the tour April of 93, I'm sorry. Went to work at a radio station in Raleigh, my old hometown. And I took a #1 morning show and drove it to #6 in 18 months. I didn't just drive it into the ground, I drove it into Middle Earth. And then once I got done with that, the comedy club circuit was waning. So I made the jump from barroom to boardroom, from the comedy club to corporate comedy, and I rode on the rubber chicken circuit, speaking after dinner, after lunch, mostly for associations, doing clean corporate comedy. That lasted until about 2007, 2008, when the recession hit, the last recession. And business dropped off 80% overnight. We lost everything in a Chapter 7 bankruptcy. And that's when I learned about the barrel of my gun tasted like, literally. Spoiler alert, I didn't pull the trigger. The audience always has a nervous laugh at that point. Shoot, still laughing. I followed up with a true story. A friend of mine was in the audience, heard my keynote, heard me say I didn't pull the trigger, came up afterwards and said, and I quote, "Hey man, how come you didn't pull the trigger?" I said, "Hey man, could you try to sound a little less disappointed?" When the recession was over and they began to book speakers again, corporate comedians, the meeting planners said to me, "Frank, we love you dearly, but we can't pay you that kind of money anymore just to be funny. You need to have some kind of message. Content, takeaways, learning objectives, able to's." And I thought, I've got nothing to teach anybody. And then I took a look back at my near suicide, and it runs in my family. My grandmother died by suicide. My mother found her. My great aunt died by suicide. My mother and I found her. I was 4 years old. I screamed for days. So I thought, you know what I can do? I could speak on suicide prevention. So I got some training in suicide prevention. And the big hurdle was everybody thought of me as a funny speaker, and I needed to rebrand as a speaker who is funny. And so my wife suggested, do a TEDx talk. And I said famously, well, it's a TEDx talk. As luck would have it, I got an email that week from a TEDx event in Vancouver, British Columbia. And they said, would you like to apply? I said, sure. So I applied and I got it. I got my first one. And I went up and on stage at a TEDx for the first time in my life at age 56, I told the world that I was living with major depressive disorder and chronic suicidal ideation. And if you want to see the TED Talk, it's called A Matter of Laugh, L-A-U-G-H, for Death. And the theme of my TEDx was starting a conversation on suicide, because what I discovered as I was preparing that speech, that even though one person dies by suicide every 11 minutes in the US, hardly anyone talks about it. It's one of the last conversational taboos. However, I also discovered that if you mention it, the words depression and suicide out loud, Lord in heaven, everybody's got a story. So starting conversation on suicide was the theme of that TEDx, and has become, it has become the theme of every keynote I give. My clients say to me, Frank, we just brought you in here to start the conversation on suicide, because what I do is I give people permission by telling my story, being vulnerable, to give voice to their feelings and experiences surrounding depression, thoughts of suicide without recrimination. So that's my job, is to come in and start the conversation on suicide, because silence kills. So that was my first TEDx talk. I got my second and third from the first one. I got 2 phone calls. TEDx high school in Scarsdale was putting one on. And where's the other one? Oh, the other was in Ten Hills, New Jersey, the high school putting one on. And they said, look, do you have another mental health TEDx, maybe a different slant? And I said, yeah, I guess I have several ideas. So my second and third, I actually got from the first. And my fourth was in Pensacola, Florida. I had to apply. I applied a dozen or more times. And then my fifth one was in Durango, Colorado. Now, I've been selected 7 times. I was selected for a TEDx in Los Angeles and one in Sun Valley, but I had a full fee speaking gig conflict on those dates. Broke my heart, but I had to turn down appearing at the 6th and 7th. And I'm now applying for my, I guess it would be my actual 6th. I'm applying all. And a lot of people, here's something you should know. It's a good time to apply for TEDx, and here's why. Most people think they're not happening. And this fall, there are very few, and those that are virtual. Most of the ones this fall have been postponed till this time next year. However, I just sent all my TEDx coaching clients a list of 11 or 12 TEDx Talks, TEDx Talk applications for the first quarter of 2021, February, March, and then summer in April. And they full well intend to do them live with a virtual fallback. So my thought is, if people don't think they're happening, then the curation teams are going to get fewer applications. So your odds are better now, I believe, than they've ever been, because there's less competition. Most of the curation teams, TEDx, get 50, 100, 150, 200 applications. And we'll talk about, how you can stand out in a number of applications like that. So it is a good time, I do believe, to apply. The question comes up, how do you find TEDx application links? The website it's TED.com/events. TED.com/events. And you'll know you're in the right place. When you get there, you'll see a map of the world with all these blue and gray dots on it. And what it asks you, and if you can open another browser window while we're doing this, go to TED.com/TEDx. I'm sorry, TED.com/TEDx/events. That's it. TED.com/TEDx/events. You'll know you're in the right place when you see a map of the world. And the first box says location, name, or type. So if you want to do it in the US, type in United States as location, name, or type. And then I would scroll down to 2021 and scroll down to April. There's normally at least a 5-month runway on these talks because they usually keep the window for application open a month or so. Then they have to go through all the applications and select the folks who are going to come back for an audition. Only they select 3 or 4 dozen people to come back for an audition. And then once they do that, they've got to audition everybody. Then they have to select the 12 to 15 people that are going to go on stage. Once they've done that, then they assign you a coach, a volunteer in the community to coach you for your TEDx. So that's why the process takes, and they have to promote it. So that's why the process takes so long. It's usually a 4 or 5 month runway. So again, it's a good time to apply because people, you know, they don't think they're happening, and they are in fact happening. So location, name, type, year, month, and then you should get up. If you typed in United States in 2021 April, you are looking at a map of the United States, and looks like the one that's closest to Richmond, excuse me, is just above. It would be where Washington D.C. is. Click on that, and you should see TEDx U Street Salon. Salon is a version of a TEDx talk. It's usually a smaller version of a TEDx talk. So if you see TEDx U Street Salon, if you click on that bolded name, TEDx U Street Salon, that will take you to the official TEDx U Street Salon page. Now, here's how they thin the herd. On this page, if you're looking at it, or if you go there after we get done, TEDx U Street Salon, there is no link to apply. It may say something like participate, but they mean get tickets, not apply. So I think they do that to discourage people. Put a speed bump in so they get fewer applications. So what I do is I copy TEDx U Street Salon. I highlight it, copy it, and I open another browser window. And I put that TEDx U Street Salon in that browser window and hit enter. Excuse me. And what you're looking for, we're looking for not TEDx.com, not TEDx.com events. You're looking for TEDxUStreetSalon.com or TEDx U Street Salon Facebook page. And let's see if there is there's a TEDx U Street Women. They have some that are specific to women. Let's see, TEDx U Street. Yeah, and there's also TEDx U Street Salon Home Facebook page. So let me click on this and see. Okay, it took me to the TEDx U Street Salon Facebook page. And I gotta log into Facebook. And the reason we went here is we want to message the committee and ask them, when does the window open for application for your April event? And the nice thing about Facebook messages, almost every time I get a message back within 24 hours. Somebody's usually writing these pages. So matter of fact, I'll do that. Let's see what happens.
Frank, would you like to share your screen?
Hey, now there's, oh man, am I feeling stupid? Okay. Let's see, share.
I think it's allowed. If not, let me know.
Yeah, it is, because I think I've got the control of this thing.
Awesome. Now we're literally on the same page with you.
Oh God, oh nice pun. Love the puns. Some people don't like them. I am crazy about them. Okay, let's see here. I have to come down a little bit so I can expand. There we go. Okay, can you guys see this now? Yeah, let's back up for those who weren't able to log on to the events page. See if I can get back to, okay. Hang on. Yeah, the problem is, okay. Let's go back one. Okay, here we are again. United States. This is the TEDx, TED.com/TEDx/events. Again, we put the United States in the location name or type box. We chose 2021 and April. So you see right here, active filters, United States, 20 April. And then I selected Washington. And we got TEDx U Street Salon. Okay, and then we went to TEDx U Street Salon and put that in. And we scrolled down a ways and we found TEDx. We didn't find a .com, but we did find a TEDx U Street Salon. Oh, look, there is a TEDx. So we'll go there next. There is a TEDx U Street Salon.com. But let's go to the Facebook page first. Then I signed into Facebook and there's the message. And I would message them and say, hey, when does the application window open to nominate someone for your April event? And generally you hear back, as I mentioned, within 24 hours. Okay, now as luck would have it, if you scroll down a little farther, you'll see TEDxUStreetSalon.com. And here we are. Let's see, speakers nominations. Let's see. Click on nominations. Speaker nomination application. Applied to become an upcoming TEDx Salon speaker, April 5 and July 5. So you click there and you pick, let's pick, and it gives the deadline. And by the way, which TEDx event are you interested in? If you want to nominate someone for both, submit 2 separate applications. This word nominate right here, that's another speed bump. Because I remember the first time I saw that, I go, what do you mean who don't want to nominate? I want to nominate me. Well, here's the thing, they don't tell you. You can always nominate yourself. So let's pick November. Part 1, about you, the nominator. And again, don't let that throw you. You can always nominate yourself. So I'd fill in my name and my email address. And then when it says, who do you want to nominate? I'd fill in my name and my email address. So don't let that throw you. You can always nominate yourself. And again, I think they do that because people would get discouraged. Well, I want to nominate me. Who am I going to get to nominate? So are you guys clear on the process? Start off with TED.com/TEDx/events. Pick your region, your year, your month, and that's how. And if you have an anchor to do TEDx overseas, then pick Great Britain and Ireland and any place you'd like to go because they're all over the world. And let's see. Now, there's another way to find TEDx Talks. Folkestone, that's in England. I applied for that one, didn't get it, but that's in England. TEDx Davenport was Iowa. This was Florida. TEDx applications. I feel like I went to Virginia Tech all of a sudden. I can't spell. That was a joke. It's somebody from North Carolina taking a shot at Virginia Tech. TEDx applications 2021. This is another way to find links. There's Folkestone, but now see, applications are closed. Royal Tunbridge. Let's see. That's, I believe, also in England. Let's see if it's still open. Apply to speak at TEDx Royal Tunbridge Wells. Kent. It's in Kent. See here, due to COVID, we're still working out speaking details. Let's see, maximum of 12 speakers, 12 minutes. And most of these have content guidelines and the rules and regs. TEDx never pays speakers, nor do you have to pay to be in a TEDx. You do have to get yourself there and put yourself up and get yourself home. Copyright law, content guidelines, no commercial agenda. You're not allowed to sell from the stage. Let's say you have a book and you pitch TEDx, the TEDx committee, on speaking on what your book's about. You can talk about the themes of the book and what people are going to learn from the book. You just can't pitch the book and put like a link to to Amazon on a PowerPoint slide. And look at this right here. TEDx event is not a platform for professional speakers, such as motivational speakers and professional life coaches. Okay. A lot of coaches and speakers want a TEDx talk. So, matter of fact, before I got on with you guys, I was on with a client of mine. Her name is Olivia. She came close to dying by suicide. She got close enough. She knows what the feel of cold, sharpened steel is on her throat. And she is a motivational mental health speaker. But I said, look, Liv, we cannot put the word motivational in the pitch. A motivational speaker can apply, but have you guys ever heard the term hide the vegetables? We need to frame it in such a way that it doesn't appear that, you are a motivational speaker applying. We got to make sure the idea is framed in such a way that they won't tumble to the fact that you're a motivational mental health speaker. So that's one of the things my clients pay me for, is to be able to disguise the fact they're a coach or speaker. Now, when they ask you, and they always do, why you are the person to be delivering the speech, again, you've got to be careful if they have that sentence in the rules and regs, that you don't play up the fact you're a coach or play up the fact you're a motivational speaker. In her case, she would talk about her near suicide and her inpatient treatment and her diagnosis, and then overcoming, how she overcame. Okay, let's see, and there's the application form. Some have and you'll notice there is no deadline here for this one. Usually they put a deadline, we'll take applications until, and oftentimes the only way you know the deadline is passed is you get here and it says application is now closed. And if that's the case, look at this. I always sign up for the mailing list. That way you will know earlier the following year. You'll know before the application window opens, because they'll send you a note by email and say, hey, don't forget, coming up soon, we're going to open the application window for, all right. Now, let's talk about the application. Name, last name, email address, social media. They often want to see what kind of following you have on social media. Do you have lots of connections on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter? That's a metric nowadays for younger people. I didn't know that until a friend of mine asked me when I helped him launch his app. I said, you're asking a 63-year-old guy to help you launch an app? What? Why? He goes, well, Frank, you've got 19,000 connections on LinkedIn. I said, is that important? Duh. So, that is a good reason. And by the way, event planners, meeting planners, speakers bureaus, all take a look. Not all. My mother would say beware of absolutes. Oftentimes, take a look at your social media following before they book you. Tell us about yourself. Again, avoid the motivational, inspirational speaker thing if that's what they're opposed to. Tell us about your post talk. A lot of times, these are limited. 250 words, 200 characters. So what I do, because I fill out a lot of these, and my clients do too, is when I fill one out, I save my work in a Word doc, because these questions repeat. And so that way, all you got to do is adjust the number of characters, the number of words. It makes it much easier to fill them out, over and over and over again. Tell us about your proposed talk. Have you presented this talk before? Oftentimes, they don't want something that's been around YouTube forever. So I would check no and make it different enough than something that lives on your YouTube channel or yes, I presented it once or twice somewhere. Tell us about your experience. Do you have any public speaking experience? They want to know if you can walk and talk and carry a microphone. What would you like to get from your TEDx Royal experience? TEDx Royal Tunbridge Wells experience. Again, you want to avoid, I want to get bookings as a speaker. So that'd be a dead giveaway. Anything else? If there's something unusual about you here, then I would put that right here. Like, I can tell you what the barrel of my gun tastes like, or I was 4 years old and, I witnessed my first suicide. see. We respectfully request our speakers avoid speaking at another TEDx events for 6 months on either side of the event. Please let us know here if you're going to be doing that. Now, I understand that I will be available for rehearsals and run-throughs as determined by these guys. I always check, yep. Understand, should the TEDx team feel my talk does not meet the event criteria, then I may not be able to speak on that day. Check. Sometimes they'll say something like, can you be in Omaha on the 15th of November for a meeting with all the, and I always check yes. I've never gone to a meeting in Omaha. Everybody zooms in because, you know, even when you could fly someplace. So just check yes, yes, yes for whatever they ask you about. And then you can work, and if they like your idea enough, they'll work with you on, you know, on that. So that's the application. Anybody got any questions on the application? Judy, anybody?
I'm not seeing anything in the chat, but I do have a question.
Okay.
So it says in this one that you can't be a professional speaker, and it mentions specifically motivational or being a coach. But say you are a professional speaker doing business communication or sales training, then in that case, it would be different, right? Because it's or would it be different?
I can avoid those words when we're doing pitch. Because, you know, not all of them have this sentence.
Okay.
But yeah, again, for my clients, part of what I do for them is when we see this sentence that they have to be a coach or motivational speaker, we frame the pitch in such a way that we play down, or we do, you know, I guess it's a lie of omission, but we play down the fact that's what they do and focus on the TEDx talk. It generally comes in thirds. The first third is your story. It's kind of like a hero's journey. Your story and the difficulties you had. Second third is, here's what I learned. And the third third is, here's what I'm going to teach your audience. So if we can frame it in such a way that we focus on those things and minimize any, you know, try to avoid mentioning that we're a motivational speaker or professional life coach, then we do that. And they may find out eventually that's what you do. But if they like your idea enough and it's framed in such a way that they believe you're not going to be life coaching or professionally speaking, or you're not just there to get a demo as a professional speaker. Some actually don't mind. Some actually want professional speakers. I got a friend named Steve Rizzo, well-paid professional inspirational motivational speaker, and we applied to South Lake Tahoe, and they were thrilled that that's what he did. But that's the exception, not the rule. So that's why, that's the reason to hire a coach, not just to hire me, but hire a coach who does this so you can frame it in such a way. Again, hide the vegetables, you know, so they don't notice when they're going over the application, that red flag doesn't go off. Because here's the deal. If they're getting a couple hundred applications, the curation team is not looking for the first reason to book you, because they got another 199 applications to go through. They're looking for the first reason not to book you. So you're going to be very careful not to give them any reason not to book it. And that's, again, what I do for my clients, and I'm sure most TEDx coaches do as well. Let's see.
We had one more question. Oh, sorry.
Yep, absolutely.
We had one more question from Rochelle, and it was about a 6 months rule and about it being, Rochelle, did you want to ask that question? I wasn't quite sure what it was.
Yeah, you had mentioned that on, if you're taking a TEDx, they don't want you to speak professionally or do another TEDx on 6 months on either case. Are they really strict on that? So if you're doing a TEDx in, let's just say, Wales, and then you're doing another one in Omaha, how does that, I mean, are they really that strict on something like that?
I've never had them be that strict. I've done them, I did one TEDx in October of 2014. I think it was 14. Anyway, the next year I did three. I did three the next year. My next three are the same year. So what TEDx committees really don't like is if you've done a TEDx on, you know, a particular TEDx talk, doing it again, same talk someplace else. They'd like to be exclusive. That's the thing they really get upset about, is that you did the same talk, but people do it. There was a guy who was at TEDx Durango with me who went somewhere in the upper Midwest did the same talk, 4 months later. They really get upset about that. And by the way, TED has the final say. The big TED, TED.com, they can post your talk with an editorial note if they think something you have covered is, not accurate. Like you quote a fact or figure and they're not sure that your resources and, and citations and references are clear. They can put a little editorial note on there, or they can say we're not going to post it. So you want to make sure that, but we'll cover that in a second. I want to make sure any facts and figures you put in a TEDx, you've got, it's like doing a term paper. You got a footnote for them so that you have the best chance of getting it posted on the TED site. Anybody else? And Rochelle, they would have to be watching pretty closely to figure out you did a TEDx 6 months before or 6 months after. I mean, after, too bad. Once it posts, and it's going to stay there. The before, if you did a TEDx, but I think if you did a different TEDx, different, because all 5 of mine are on mental health, but each one is entirely different. Although my lived experience is very similar, but the message is different. Anybody else?
Thank you.
So those are the 2 ways. Now, let's say that you got to the TEDx Royal Tunbridge Wells. You went and you couldn't find a .com, and you couldn't find a Facebook, Twitter, or whatever page. Let's see if I can go back here. United States. What I would do is, this is the last ditch effort, scroll down and see Kim Webster. She is the organizer. However, you see there is no contact information for Kim Webster. So what I would do is, can you guys still see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, LinkedIn. I go to LinkedIn, linkedin.com, and I would search for this young woman. I helped her. This is JC Milkowski. She got invited. People get invited to do TEDx without auditioning, but she hired me because she wanted to make sure it was an excellent TEDx. So I came in the middle of the process. Kim Webster. Okay. Kim Webster. And this TEDx organizer. Bingo. So I would have to connect with her, and I would do it in Sales Navigator because I pay the upcharge for LinkedIn. I would connect with her so that I could message her. And so that's kind of, so if you can't find a .com and you can't find a Facebook or other social media page for the TEDx, then I would go to LinkedIn and see if you can find the organizer. All right, let's see. So any questions on that? .com, Facebook page, or type in TEDx applications 2021, and that's how you find the applications. All right, let's see here. And here's how the process works. You fill out the application. Well, you know what? Let's go over. I've got a list of the 6 things, and I believe Judith provided you guys with this. The 6 things you can do to kill your chances of landing it there. That's landing a TEDx talk. That's my website. Where is the 6 things? Hold on. There it is. So Judith has a link to this, or has a copy of this, I do believe. And if you go to my website, yourtedxcoach.com, and put in your email address, you can get a copy as well. It's free. Okay, 6 things that'll kill your chances of landing a TEDx talk. All righty. And these are the things I teach. Common mistakes ruin your chance to be selected. Difference between your story and your idea worth spreading. Your story is the first third. You learned, that's part of the idea worth spreading. You're teaching. Let's see. Number 1, mistake. Too much. Too much of whatever. Too many ideas, too many words in your idea, too wordy. They're looking for brief, concise, because oftentimes they'll ask you about your idea. They'll say, give us a 10-word elevator pitch. I mean, some of my clients have a hernia trying to boil it down to 10 words. But you need, or they'll say, give me a title, subtitle. So what I do is I do a title, subtitle first. And if they ask for an elevator pitch, I just combine the title and subtitle into the elevator pitch. Or they'll ask you for a couple of sentences describing the idea. So that's number one. Number two is the cousin of number one. Your description of your idea or spreading is too long in detail. They're one idea, not a thesis. As it says here, first thing I ask my students to do, create a 10 to 15 word elevator pitch. And again, it's difficult, and they pay me really to edit, to get it down to whatever. This 10 words, my last TEDx talk, mental health and the orgasm. Treat your depression single-handedly. 10 words. And by the way, it took me 16 tries to sell that, but the committee that picked me loved the idea. I knew not everybody would. All right, mistake number 3. The pitch lacks creativity. Again, if they got 200 applications, whatever you put in that elevator or the 2-sentence summary or the title subtitle has got to catch their attention. It's got to be sticky. It's got to intrigue them. And oftentimes, the client I talked to right before I talked to you guys, Olivia, the book is Live to Tell. So that is the title, Live to Tell. So you see Live to Tell, you think, what does that mean? Forces them to read the subtitle, which is hopelessness is just a visitor. So now you got a better idea, but you're still maybe a little unsure. So in the first paragraph, where they say, flesh out the idea, give us 250 words, flesh out the idea. And then usually below that, 250 words, why you are the person that should be delivering this. And those 3 questions are pretty much on every TEDx application, just like that. So, but you need to grab them, catch their attention. Obviously, the, mental health and the orgasm, treat your depression single-handedly. The committee they thought it was the best thing to slice bread. The previous one, my 4th one, was called Suicide, the Secret to My Success. That's counterintuitive. Subtitle, Dead Man Talking, which is a play on Dead Man Walking, something they recognize. And again, I didn't have to audition for that one either. They just said, that's great, we love the idea, you're on. So if you can make and that's probably the thing that I do for my clients is most valuable, is make sure the title, subtitle, the 10-word elevator pitch with 2 sentences are, they just grab you by the lapels and won't let go, so that you get invited to do an audition. There it is, Suicide, Secret to My Success. Mistake number 4, hiring the wrong TEDx coach. And I'm not saying you should hire me. Just I've got a friend who signed up with, I think it's called the Idea Collective, $4,800. And they cobbled together an application, kind of a standard application's worth of answers. Title, subtitle, elevator pitch, give us a description, why are you the person? And there was nothing wrong with it. All I's dotted, T's crossed. She applied 80 times. 80. Nothing. Not a thing. She called me almost in tears. She goes, Frank, I've applied 80 times. I said, Amy, can I go over it? Can I punch it up a little bit? So and by the way, it was a great idea. And she had a #1 best-selling book on that topic on Amazon. So there's no reason she shouldn't be doing it. So I worked it over, gave it back to her. She applied 5 times. She applied and got TEDx Boston. So it's got to be creative, intriguing, interesting to make them read on. Otherwise, 80 times she went right into the no pile. And it was a great idea. So, and I wrote jokes for the Tonight Show for 20 years. I've done stand-up comedy for 34. I'm working on, I'm a co-author on a 4-book series on men's mental health. So it's, you need to find somebody like that, because the creative part, basically it's a pitch. You're selling the idea to the curation team. It's a pitch. So if you're pitching something, it's got to be interesting. It's got to make them read on. Otherwise, you end up in the no pile. Mistake, lack of passion. Whatever you talk about in TEDx, you should be passionate about. You know, suicide prevention, mental health, near and dear to my heart. I go to bed thinking about it, wake up thinking about it. It is my purpose and my passion. My speaker coaching clients say, how did you pick suicide as a topic? The topic picked me. It's organic to me. And that's the best. I've got a client who has narcolepsy. She's got a foundation, a sleep foundation. She's got a book on sleep. It is, I mean, she eats, breathes, sleeps. So, and you know, people have a lot of passion for a lot of things. I help them narrow down to one. You got to pick a lane. You got to pick a lane on something you're passionate about, and you know, go deep with that, not wide. So, passion for your topic. The young woman called me. She goes, "I want to do a TED Talk on customer service." I said, "Are you passionate about customer service?" There's my, that's 40 minutes. Oh, okay, to finish up, Jude. I know Toastmasters loves to run on time. And number 6 is you apply twice and you give up. My clients generally apply 6, 12, 18 times before they get the first one. So you need to keep applying. And all over the country, you know, have people apply in their hometown, don't get it, stop. I've never done a TEDx I didn't have to fly to. So I would apply all over the place. All righty. Let's see. So those are the 6 things you can do to kill your chances of getting a TEDx talk. And Judith, that was 40 minutes. And I know Toastmasters runs, you know, like a Swiss watch. So if you want to jump into Q&A.
Does anyone else have any questions? I did have one. You answered one, which is, do TEDx organizations tend to favor people from the region? And the answer is clearly no. It sounds like it's no.
Sometimes. My hometown of Raleigh. I wanted to apply and they go, you can't, you don't live here. I grew up there. I'm sorry, you don't live in Raleigh. So, but most of them don't. Or if it's tied to a university, they may ask you, like Duke University, TEDx. They asked me what was my connection to Duke. And I said, I went to Carolina. Sorry. I'm always mad at Mike Krzyzewski. You know, they always beat him every year. So, you know, just, if you don't have a tie, make it fun.
And another one was, are there certain hot topics that are good to go for or to avoid?
Politics, religion. Generally, they say they don't want any politics, they don't want any religion, although there are great TEDx talks on religion. What they don't want you to do is proselytize, you know, looking for converts. But yeah, topics, but it pretty much, and here's the deal. TEDx is not just about an idea worth spreading, it's an idea worth spreading, and if it can be a little controversial, then all the best.
I have another question from Diane Cavazos. How do you find a coach?
You know, if you Google TEDx coach, TEDx speaking coach, TEDx talking coaches, there's lots of us out there. And like I said, the Idea Collective, and I'm sure they do a good job. The guy who runs it has only 4 TEDx talks, by the way. Neener. Yeah, and they vary in price. He's $4,800. I'm less than that, but you know, not that much less than that. I don't know how they work theirs. In my case, it's a till death do us part deal. We work on Zoom 1 hour a week or more, unlimited texts and emails until you get a TEDx or we both die trying. So we're married, and then I also work in speaker marketing during that process. You know, you should have a podcast, you should guest on podcasts, you should begin your branding. So when the TEDx goes up on YouTube, we can take the greatest advantage of the fact it's now up on YouTube, especially if you want to speak professionally. And most of the people that I work with, that's the end game. They either want to speak professionally or they want to up their game, up their fees with the help of the TEDx. And by the way, Diane, the first half an hour of TEDx coaching is free. So if I'm happy to chat. And oftentimes when I talk to somebody over a virtual cup of coffee, this is what I cover: is how do you get a TEDx? How do you find the links? How do you apply? Here's some tips. Here's what to watch out for. So at the end of the half an hour, oftentimes, if they don't end up booking me as hiring me as a coach, but they have enough information. You guys have enough information now. Just do it on your own. You have, you know how to find the links, you know where the pitfalls are, you know what they're looking for, so forth. So yeah, so it's my mom was big on give value first without expectation of return. And so that's why I offer that in the first 30 minutes. I want to make sure when we get done, they can, you can apply on your own if that's what you'd like to do.
Thank you, Frank. I'm not seeing any more questions. If anybody has any. Otherwise, yes.
Anybody? No?
Hey, well, do you have any closing remarks or advice for us to kind of close down the talk, Frank?
Yes. Again, if you're thinking about doing a TEDx talk, now would be a spectacular time to apply. And I believe, Judy, I sent you a list of about 10 or 11 application links that are still open. Did I not? Along with resources. Did I send it to you?
Frank's got a great resource guide that I just put into the chat for everyone. All you have to do is click. You should be able to download to your device. And if you can't get it, contact me and I'll share it with you later.
There are 3 other talks that I would recommend you investigate, and most towns of any size, Richmond included, probably have these. If you want to do a mental health talk, it's called This Is My Brave. Once a year theater event, a video recorded professionally. It's a great way to get a demo if you have a mental health topic. There's a talk called Ignite, and it is a 5-minute talk, and it's PowerPoint driven. You get 20 seconds per PowerPoint slide, and it's set on automatic. So you can only it's gonna run. So it's 5 minutes. I think it's 20 slides, 20 seconds a piece. And then this last one called The Moth Talks, which is a little less professional video sort of thing, but it's storytelling. It's a great way, A, to get a piece of demo video, and B, practice. And by the way, if you get the audition and you get the TEDx talk, I would practice it in front of humans before you do it on the TEDx stage. And I'll tell you where a great place to do that is. Every Rotary, Kiwanis, Civitan, JC Club has a speaker every week. They usually give you 20 minutes and a 5-minute Q&A. It's a great place to practice your TEDx talk leading up to doing it live on the TEDx stage. And I encourage all my clients to do it half dozen times before they get up on the TEDx stage.
Thank you, Frank. And of course, we have a great place to practice as Toastmasters, because in our curriculum, there are opportunities for 20-minute talks, and we can take advantage of those. Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was like 7 minutes and that was across the board. I learned something myself.
We're going to talk after this.
I see. Yeah, so I wish you guys luck. I hope you have an idea worth spreading, and I'll tell you, I get an email or a DM on Twitter from somebody who stumbled on my talk. The only one stumbled on my talk. I reached out to her because she was a coach or author or speaker or something. And she sent me a DM back. I can't believe it's you. She goes, I was at the lowest point in my life last fall. And I came across your TEDx talk. And it was the ray of hope that I needed to go on. And so that's the impact of a TED. It's not just on the audience, in the room or the people you share the link with. It's available 24/7, 365 around the world. You could change and or save a life given whatever idea it is you brought to spread. So I cried when I got the DM, because that's the impact the TEDx talk can have.
Well, thank you. Let's all give Frank a round of applause for. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, guys.
We really appreciate you coming here. I'm going to turn the meeting back over to Debbie.
Thank you, Judy. Thank you, Frank. Wow. I had no idea what was involved, and I'm not even sure I've ever thought of giving a TEDx talk. I've enjoyed a lot of them, but this is inspirational, and I think you've planted some seeds. Thank you so much. Thank you to everyone who attended. Please come out and join us any Monday morning at 7 o'clock. Reach out, we'll give you the link, or the 4th Wednesday of the month at 7. So thanks everyone, and looking forward to let us know when you land your TED TEDx talk so that we can watch it.
Yes, I'll let Judith know when I nail my next one.
Great. Thanks, Frank.
My pleasure, guys.
Frank, I want to thank you as well. You walked us through the application process. You showed how we can make our applications stand out so they're not eliminated on the first round. And you told us what not to do, what things not to do if you want to kill your application right away. Like Debbie, I had no idea how the process worked, how competitive it was. So I was very grateful to have you do some hand-holding this meeting. And I enjoyed your story. Everybody loves a good story. You have a great story. Thank you for sharing that with us.
My pleasure. And Judith has my contact information if you'd like to do another half an hour over a virtual cup of coffee. And again, there's no cost for that. Other questions occurred.
Excellent. Okay. Thank you, Frank.